What if the very thing that makes you like fall completely head over heels in love with someone, say, a fierce dedication to their culture, or maybe just their super calm, unbothered demeanor, is actually the exact weapon they use to completely destroy your relationship later?
Oh, that is so dark, but honestly, so true.
Right. Because, think about it, we always talk about red flags like they are these obvious glowing neon signs. But what if the red flags are actually disguised as the exact traits you swiped right on in the very first place?
It's basically the ultimate bait and switch. You think you are getting this really stoic, traditional partner, and then suddenly you realize you are legally bound to a literal brick wall who just refuses to compromise on anything.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, Biggs, welcome back. We love you, we see you, and honestly, we missed you more than you know.
We really, really did.
Yeah, we are back a little earlier than expected from our break, and I just have to start by thanking every single one of you in the Snark Squad. Like, thank you for sticking with us, checking in on us, and giving us the space to just take this trip.
Truly. Because, it was supposed to be just a vacation, right? Just a little time away from the microphones.
Yeah.
But it evolved into this once-in-a-lifetime life experience, an opportunity to actually reconnect with family, with culture, and, with our roots.
It was so deeply emotional. I am still, honestly, spiraling a little bit, just processing it all. The trip became something completely different from what I originally expected when we boarded that flight.
Oh, 100%.
You know me, I get so in my feelings about everything, but reconnecting with my heritage just completely rewired my perspective. I am just so grateful that you all supported us, taking time away for some real soul searching.
And we absolutely have to talk about arriving in Addis Ababa because, wow,
Oh, the energy.
the atmosphere there is just indescribable. It is so vibrant, the energy is absolutely electric, and the city itself is just stunning.
The people, the hospitality, and oh my gosh, the food. I will be dreaming about that food for the rest of my actual life. The spices, the warmth of everyone we met, the memories we made there, the kind that you just like lock away in a vault because they are so precious.
Yeah, it was beautiful. But then, we took the trip out to Gambella, and that is where the real emotional shift happened for both of us, I think.
Yeah, that was definitely the most emotional part of the trip for me. Traveling to that village gave me an entirely different perspective on life.
It really hits you hard.
It does. The contrast between the bustling energy of Addis Ababa and the quiet, raw reality of Gambella is something that just, it stops you in your tracks.
Seeing the different living conditions really affected both of us because it forces you to look at your own life and just take a massive inventory. You start noticing all the small comforts that you have literally always taken for granted.
Right. The everyday conveniences that suddenly feel like these incredible unearned privileges, like clean running water at the turn of a handle, a reliable Wi-Fi signal, central air conditioning.
Just having paved roads everywhere you go.
Exactly. Experiencing that contrast just left me feeling so incredibly grounded and so deeply grateful. It's a very humbling mirror to look into, honestly.
It is. It really makes you evaluate what actually constitutes a bad day, Which, of course, brings us to our absolute favorite disaster of the trip, the hotel from hell.
Oh my God, no. I am still coughing up the dust from that place.
Babes, when we say dirty, we mean we were genuinely wondering if a broom had ever graced the premises in this century.
Not a single broom.
It was dusty, it was dingy, and I am fairly certain the mattress was filled with actual rocks, like jagged rocks.
We were literally looking around trying to figure out if we'd accidentally signed up for an episode of I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Right.
I was just waiting for someone to hand me a plate of bugs to eat so I could win a clean towel. We just had to laugh our way through it because if we didn't laugh, I would have absolutely sobbed right there on that rocky mattress.
And those are always the travel stories you end up telling forever anyway. Surviving that hotel together was honestly a trauma-bonding experience. But enough about our own international adventures.
Yes, let's get into the real mess.
Right. You need to get into these relationships because somehow, against all odds, these couples on season 12 still managed to make our travel chaos look completely normal.
They really do. Season 12, episode 10, appropriately titled, I'm Questioning Everything. And let me tell you, I watched this and I am spiraling. We are looking at a literal masterclass in defense mechanisms. What happens when the 90-day clock of a K-1 visa forces a fantasy to collide violently with reality?
And for those who might not realize the sheer legal pressure of this situation, a K-1 visa is not like a casual dating visa.
No, not at all.
It is a get married legally in 90 days or the federal government deports your partner visa. It is an absolute pressure cooker. And when you put deeply flawed people into that cooker, their defense mechanisms don't just activate, they explode.
Which perfectly frames our first couple. Let's talk about the passive defense mechanism, the absolute sheer will to ignore reality, Debbie and Mido.
Oh, the poster children for the sunk cost fallacy.
Let's set the scene, babes, because we are dealing with the fallout from their explosive Halloween blowout. Mido is currently giving Debbie the silent treatment. He is completely refusing to engage. And how is he spending his time in her house?
Oh, this is the best part.
He is sitting on her couch, obsessively analyzing his own acting headshots.
And let's be very clear about what these are, because the entire internet is calling these out for what they are.
Wow.
They are AI headshots.
Literally generated by a computer.
Yes. They have that weird, overly smooth, slightly uncanny valley look where you might have 6 fingers if you look too closely at his hand.
It's so embarrassing. He is threatening to return to Egypt because he's mad, but everyone, including Debbie, knows he likely cannot even afford the flight back.
People in the online threads were ripping him apart this week, calling him a narcissist. Some were even saying his behavior borders on sociopathic because of those blank, dead-eyed stares and his complete emotional withdrawal. It is a chilling level of detachment.
It broke my heart during that scene by the lake. Look, you know me. I try to see the romance. I want to believe that at some point in the last 6 years, they actually loved each other.
You are too hopeful sometimes.
I know. But Debbie is practically pleading for just a crumb of validation. She said she just wants him to say, I love you, and offer her a formal proposal. Just the absolute basics.
I have to stop you there, though, because that is the delusion talking. There was never romance for him. This was always a transactional audition for a green card. He flatly refuses to say, I love you.
Literally to her face.
He actually tells her that he doesn't like saying it. And then he drops this incredibly manipulative line. He says he gave up everything, his country, his war, to be there, so he deserves better.
Which implies she is not a good person. She sponsored his visa. She is housing him. She is supposedly supporting his wild Hollywood acting dreams with those AI headshots, and he is treating her like she is the main obstacle in his life.
This is where we really have to look at the clinical mechanics of the sunk cost fallacy. When someone invests significant resources, time, money, emotional energy into something, their brain fundamentally refuses to accept a loss.
Right.
Instead of walking away, they double down. Debbie keeps saying, we've been together for 6 years.
But they haven't really. The first 3 years were entirely remote. They were basically pen pals.
Exactly. But her brain has categorized this as a massive 6-year investment of her youth and life. To kick him out now means looking in the mirror and admitting she wasted 6 years on a total illusion.
It's like she is a Hollywood director who has written this beautiful romantic script in her head. She spent millions on the production, and she's trying to force Mido into the lead role, but he never even auditioned for a romance.
No, he auditioned for a free ride to L.A.
Exactly, and it makes me wonder, at what point does Debbie's desperation become complicity in her own manipulation?
Well, she is actively participating in it now. I saw a lot of fans pointing this out online. Debbie literally says to him, I know that you love me, because I don't think you would have done all that you've done if you didn't.
Oh my God, yes.
She is putting the words in his mouth. She is doing all the emotional labor for both of them because he completely refuses to do it.
It is so tragic. When someone tells you who they are, believe them. Mido is telling her, with every blank stare and AI headshot, I am not here for you.
Yep. But if emotional withdrawal and silence is Mido's defense mechanism, our next couple shows us what happens when a partner goes in the complete opposite direction. What happens when someone tries to proactively control their environment to avoid feeling anything?
Oh, babes. Let's talk about Marissa and Edward. This is micromanagement on a level that I have never, ever seen.
It is a brilliant study in suppressed resentment and the absolute need for control.
Okay, let's discuss the great trash can debate. Marissa asks Edward to take the trash out. Simple enough, right?
You would think.
But she absolutely loses her mind on him because he didn't make the cans look neat enough, and wait for it, because he placed them on the curve instead of the curb.
Yes, a vicious vocabulary lesson wrapped up in a domestic reprimand.
She literally admits in her confessional to being a bitch, and she justifies it by saying her judgment is clouded by fear and anxiety about the marriage. But we have to look at the context from their recent New York City trip.
Oh, the NYC disconnect was brutal to watch.
It was so deeply condescending. Edward is seeing New York City for the very first time. He is wide-eyed, taking it all in, and she's treating him like a nuisance on a school field trip.
Yeah, she quizzes him on whether it's the Empire or Empire State Building.
So patronizing. And then he gets genuinely amused by playing with an automatic motion sensor trash can in her apartment. He is finding joy in something new, and she rolls her eyes and treats his wonder like it's some sort of character flaw.
She is actively punishing him for not already knowing her world. And this leads to this massive glaring paradox in her expectations. She goes to lunch with her mother, who, by the way, looks like she has had a magnificent facelift.
Oh my gosh, the mom was giving major rich auntie energy. She looked more like Marissa's sister.
Right. But at this lunch, Marissa complains that Edward never gets mad. She says she wants a strong man, like a manly man, who will put her in check.
Wait, I have to push back on her entirely here. Isn't she creating an absolutely impossible tightrope for this man?
Completely.
She demands he act like a traditional, manly man who takes charge of the household, while she simultaneously treats him like a third toddler. She is scolding him over trash can placement and pronunciation. How can anyone successfully be the alpha of the house when they are being graded on a daily rubric by their partner?
They can't. And that is exactly why we have to examine why Edward is so calm. You keep saying she is creating an impossible tightrope, which she is. But Edward's calmness isn't necessarily emotional health. It is very likely a trauma response.
Wait, really? You think the silence is trauma, not just typical guy indifference to chores?
Think about his background. He explicitly tells her he has been through so much trauma in his life, surviving extreme poverty in the Dominican Republic. He says he doesn't have time to sit and cry.
That's true.
When you live in survival mode, you learn to minimize your emotional expenditure. So when she starts screaming about a trash can being on the curve, his brain registers it as a non-lethal threat. He shuts down to conserve energy. He is suppressing his emotions to survive her constant criticism.
Wow, so his survival mechanism is completely triggering her anxiety.
Exactly. Marissa seems to have this anxious attachment style where conflict equals passion. She needs him to fight back so she feels like he cares. Because he won't fight her over a trash can, she interprets his silence as a lack of investment.
Which leads to her ultimate fear that he's just a too-good-to-be-true guy using her for a green card. It's like she is shadowboxing with her own anxieties. She's throwing all these punches at Edward, he's dodging them, and she's getting mad that she's only hitting the wall. If you don't want him to act like a child, Marissa, stop talking to him like a child.
Precisely. But, while Marissa is trying to micromanage Edward's every breath, our next couple shows us what happens when a partner completely relinquishes all control and just lets their worst impulses take the wheel.
Oh, the frat boy of the season. Let's get into Annabelle and Shay. Babes, this is where third-party sabotage comes in as a massive defense mechanism.
Let's set the scene at the lake house.
Yeah.
Shay is 54 years old. But if you were dropped into this scene with absolutely no context, you would think he is a college freshman rushing a fraternity.
Literally.
He is guzzling beer funnels, getting completely blackout drunk, and aggressively flirting with a group of 20-something women, specifically a girl named Aspen.
It was so disgusting to watch. Annabelle, who is acting like an actual adult, gets tired and wants to go to bed. And how does Shay react? He accuses her of embarrassing him.
Unbelievable.
He literally says, "Don't embarrass me," just because she won't stay up taking shots. Meanwhile, he is offering to buy a 20-year-old girl an island. An island.
The lack of self-awareness is staggering.
Yeah.
But we really have to look at the puppet master in this entire scenario.
Allison. Shay's daughter. Oh my gosh, the internet was going crazy over her. Everyone in the Snark squad was pointing out Allison's smirk in the background of that party.
Allison explicitly states in her confessional that she doesn't like Annabelle bossing him around. And she drops the classic xenophobic line, if Annabelle doesn't like how they do things, she can go back to her country.
It is so incredibly toxic. Why is the daughter throwing these parties and surrounding her dad with 20-year-olds? It's so weird.
Because it is a brilliant, dark isolation tactic. Think about it systemically. If Allison keeps her father in this immature, drunken, arrested development state, she maintains her status as the primary responsible woman in his life.
Oh, wow.
And more importantly, she maintains proximity to his wallet. She is weaponizing party culture to sabotage his relationship under the guise of just letting dad have fun.
That is so dark. It's like she is acting as his enabler just to keep her inheritance secure. But let me ask you this, because Shay is a 54-year-old man. He is actively choosing the validation of a beer funnel over the security of his fiancé.
Right.
Is he just totally oblivious to his daughter's manipulation, or is the alcohol acting as a truth serum? Does he actually want this relationship to be sabotaged so he doesn't have to be the bad guy and break it off himself?
Well, that is the million-dollar question about accountability. We love to blame the alcohol or the meddling daughter, but Shay is making a choice.
Yeah.
Alcohol lowers inhibitions. It does not install new software in your brain. It just runs the programs you usually hide from polite society. He prioritizes the ego boost of a 20-year-old's attention over his partner's comfort. He is using his daughter's party as a shield to get away with acting single while securing the benefits of a relationship.
So true. And speaking of using things as a shield to avoid accountability, babes, this next couple sent me into a full-blown spiral. We have to talk about Catie and Josh and the pathological deflection of reality.
Yeah, this is one of the heaviest and most frustrating storylines we have ever covered.
Okay, so Catie wakes up with a brutal hangover after her birthday party. And when I say disastrous, I mean she got blackout drunk and actively tried to make out with multiple people, including her friend Ryan, right in front of her fiancé, Josh.
And the next morning, instead of a massive relationship-ending fight, we get this bizarre scene where Catie goes for a run with Ryan.
Yes.
And I just have to say, a lot of fans were right to point this out online. Catie's running form is incredibly awkward.
I couldn't stop staring at her arms. They were flailing everywhere.
It added this very strange, almost comedic visual to what should have been a very serious intervention.
It really did. But the dialogue is what stopped me cold. Ryan doesn't just say you drink too much, you made a fool of yourself. He explicitly tells Catie that he is worried about her relationship with alcohol.
Right, and that phrasing, relationship with alcohol, is clinical. It is the language you use when you are dealing with addiction. It's not about having one bad night, it's about a systemic dependence. But watch how Catie's defense mechanism instantly fires up.
She blames it on her OCD. She literally claims that her OCD tells her to make out with people when she drinks, and the Snark Squad was absolutely not having it.
Oh, not at all.
Everyone was tearing this apart, pointing out that she is clearly an unmedicated alcoholic who is using a mental health diagnosis as a convenient shield.
Let's explain the mechanics of OCD here, because what she's doing is highly offensive to people who actually suffer from it.
Yes, please.
Obsessive-compulsive disorder is characterized by intrusive, distressing thoughts, and the compulsions are the rituals performed to alleviate the distress of those thoughts. Kissing random people at a bar because you are drunk is not an OCD compulsion. It is lowered inhibitions and poor impulse control caused by alcohol.
One fan online literally said her OCD was basically just her conscience, and she was actively drinking to ignore it so she could cheat.
That is exactly it. It is a textbook deflection tactic. Think of it like a massive corporation dealing with a catastrophic data breach, right?
Okay.
But instead of addressing the hackers stealing millions of dollars, the CEO holds a press conference to complain about the office Wi-Fi being a little slow. Catie is pointing everyone's attention to a manageable, chronic issue OCD to completely distract them from the acute, catastrophic failure happening in the background, which is her alcoholism. She is removing her own agency and making herself a victim of her brain chemistry.
That analogy is brilliant. But what about Josh? I'm so confused by his reaction to all of this.
Josh is the classic enabler. He asks her what's going through her head when she kisses other guys, but he doesn't draw a hard boundary about the drinking. He is more concerned with the embarrassment of being cheated on publicly than he is with her actual physical safety or sobriety.
A lot of people are wondering if Josh just really wants to be on TV or he has, like, a savior complex.
It's definitely a mix. But the psychological reality is that Catie is facing zero consequences. Josh threatens to leave, but he stays. Her friends say they are worried, but they still go running with her.
So what is the catalyst for her to actually change? If everyone keeps absorbing all the damage for her, why would she ever stop?
She won't. In addiction, the catalyst usually has to be a catastrophic loss. Until the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing, she will keep using Josh and her diagnoses as shields.
Heavy. Really, really heavy. But let's pivot to a different kind of shield. Sometimes the problem isn't a substance, it's an actual ex-boyfriend who refuses to exit the group chat and a partner who uses their culture as a weapon.
Ah, yes. The incredibly awkward triangle of Mallorie, Rașit, and Brandon.
Okay, there is already so much financial tension here. Mallorie has this aggressive budget spreadsheet to track every single penny. She forced Rașit to accept a cheap $25 Amazon bidet instead of a proper one.
Which is an insult to bidets everywhere, honestly.
Literally. And she demanded a prenuptial agreement, which absolutely broke his heart because it is so taboo in his culture.
So he is already feeling marginalized, broke,
Yeah.
and totally disrespected. And into this powder keg walks Brandon, her close friend and ex-boyfriend.
Or Brandy, as Rașit so pettily calls him. Mallorie decides to play peacemaker by orchestrating this meetup at a minor league baseball game. She gets Rașit to throw out the first pitch, hoping this cute American pastime will, squash the beef.
It is one of the most profound miscalculations in reality TV history.
It was excruciating. Sprocket the trash panda, the actual mascot, is just wandering around in the background of this intensely hostile standoff.
It was so surreal.
And when the national anthem plays, Rașit blatantly refuses to take his hat off just to spite Brandon, who is demanding he show respect.
And then Rașit draws his line in the sand. He flat out tells Brandon that his Turkish culture does not allow for friendships with a wife's ex. He uses his culture as an immovable wall. Brandon throws some passive-aggressive shade, and Rașit literally throws a handful of popcorn at him.
Popcorn. Like a middle schooler in a movie theater. But I have to ask you, is Rașit entirely wrong here?
Wait, what do you mean?
Look, Rașit's behavior with the popcorn is embarrassing, yes. But let's look at Mallorie. She is using her American independence to completely bulldoze her fiancé. She is essentially saying, I am an independent American woman, he is my friend, and you just have to deal with it. She is completely dismissive of how emasculating and disrespectful this feels to a man from a more traditional background.
Okay, that is a fair point. Both of them are being culturally rigid to avoid vulnerability. Rașit is weaponizing my culture to demand submission, and Mallorie is weaponizing American independence to avoid compromising on her social life. But what about Brandon's role in all this?
Oh, Brandon is messy. At what point does being a supportive bestie cross into active sabotage? Because I saw someone online point out that Brandon was talking trash about Rașit's pitch before they even sat down. He knows Rașit hates him, yet he insists on inserting himself right in the middle of their relationship. Isn't Mallorie just forcing a dynamic that is destined to explode?
She absolutely is. Brandon totally enjoys the power he holds over Rașit. He knows he can trigger him. And by throwing the popcorn, Rașit basically proves Brandon's underlying thesis that Rașit isn't mature enough for Mallorie. It is a masterclass in mutual self-sabotage, orchestrated by Mallorie's refusal to set boundaries with her ex.
It really is. And, if we want to talk about weaponizing deeply held beliefs, we have to look at our final couples who use religion and family grudges to just bend reality to their will.
Oh, the familial interference with Esha and Maxwell and Thomas and Paula is staggering. Let's start with the 38-year-old revelation.
Yes. So Maxwell's sister, Blay, finds out from Ashia's own mother that Asha is 38 years old. This makes a 10-year age gap.
And the family's reaction is savage.
They completely reject her, literally saying she has one foot in the grave and expressing sheer terror that she won't be able to give Maxwell children.
It is a fascinating and disturbing display of ageism, placing the entire burden of fertility squarely on the woman's shoulders. Asha tries to be rational. She brings up modern medicine, egg freezing, surrogacy.
But the family shuts all the logic down, and then we get the religious pivot. Babes, this gave me actual whiplash.
Right.
They are arguing. It looks like the wedding is canceled. And then someone brings up Sarah from the Bible having a baby at 90 years old.
The sudden invocation of biblical miracles is a conflict resolution tool.
Suddenly, Asha starts speaking in tongues. The family's holding hands in a circle, praying, and boom, they fully accept the marriage. They decide to just pursue a spousal visa and get married in Nigeria. How does that even happen?
Because it is a brilliant group defense mechanism. Think about the psychology here. The family was faced with a modern reality they didn't like. An older, independent woman with a timeline. They couldn't win the logical argument about medical science. So they retreated to the ultimate, unarguable, safe space, performative faith.
So you don't think they actually had a change of heart?
Not at all.
Yeah.
By placing the outcome in God's hands, they absolve themselves of the responsibility of having to publicly reject her on camera. It is a way of yielding and saving face without ever actually admitting defeat.
That is wild. And it really mirrors what happened with Thomas and Paula. They dropped the bombshell that Thomas's biological mother is invited to the wedding.
Yep.
And his dad, who apparently raised him alone, instantly says he refuses to attend his own son's wedding out of spite.
Exactly. Thomas's father is weaponizing his familial grudge. His principle of never being in the same room as his ex-wife is suddenly more important than witnessing his son's marriage. In both these cases, the families are using their belief systems, whether it's religious dogma or stubborn personal grudges, to completely control the narrative of the relationship.
It is just heavy. These couples are fighting wars on so many fronts. But babes, it is time to pivot to my absolute favorite part of the show. Let's get into segment 1. Culture shock or common sense?
Yes, the segment where we debate whether a conflict is a genuine cultural misunderstanding or if someone is just being a terrible partner.
Okay. Up first, Rașit demanding that Mallorie drop Brandon as a friend. Culture shock or common sense?
I am going to say common sense, actually. I know it gets branded as Turkish culture, but let's be real. Most men, regardless of geography, do not want their fiancé's ex-boyfriend hanging around constantly, critiquing their baseball pitch and demanding respect. Mallorie is hiding behind American culture to justify poor boundaries.
I agree. It's totally common sense. If I brought an ex around you constantly, you would lose your mind. Okay, next one. Mido refusing to say I love you because he doesn't like saying it.
Oh, that is absolutely neither. That is just manipulation. He tries to frame it as him being a stoic man who gave up his country, but common sense dictates that if you are engaged to someone, you can muster up 3 words. He is withholding affection as a control tactic.
Completely agree. Okay, let's move into segment 2. Red flag roundup. I need you to rank the biggest red flags from this week's mess, and you have to defend your choices.
All right, let's do it. Coming in at number 3 is Marissa's vocabulary lesson. Correcting your non-native speaking partner on curb versus curve while they're taking out your trash is a massive red flag for superiority complex. It shows she views him as an employee, not a partner.
Ooh, solid choice. What is number 2?
Number 2 is Allison's smirk at the lake house. When your partner's adult child is actively supplying them with alcohol and 20-year-olds to sabotage your relationship and your partner enjoys it, that is a glaring red flag that the family system will never, ever let you in.
That smirk was genuinely demonic. Okay, give me the number 1 red flag of the week.
The number 1 red flag goes to Catie, blaming her blackout makeout sessions on OCD. Weaponizing a mental health diagnosis to avoid accountability for infidelity is the absolute peak of toxicity. It leaves no room for growth because she claims she has no control over it.
I cannot argue with a single one of those. Which brings us to segment 3, gratitude check. Obviously, our trip really changed our perspective. So, inspired by that, what is one everyday convenience or small comfort that you think people totally overlook that we should be way more grateful for?
For me, it is the absolute miracle of temperature control.
Oh, for sure.
Being able to walk into a room, push a button on a wall, and immediately not be sweating or freezing is a profound luxury that we treat like a basic human right. After the hotel from hell, I will literally never complain about an AC unit being slightly too loud again.
Yes. For me, it is a fully stocked grocery store within a 5-minute drive. Just the ability to think, I want a very specific brand of sparkling water, and being able to go get it instantly.
It's crazy when you think about it.
It is wild how much we have at our fingertips while we sit around complaining that the trash cans are on the curve instead of the curb.
It really puts the petty arguments into perspective, doesn't it?
It really, really does. All right, let's wrap this up with segment 4. Next week's predictions. What do you see happening?
I predict that Mido will miraculously find a reason to stay in America, probably citing an audition he just can't miss, and Debbie will accept it. I also predict that Catie will drink again next week, and Josh will once again look mildly annoyed but do absolutely nothing about it.
I think you are spot on with Catie and Josh. My prediction is for Mallorie and Rașit. I predict they are going to have a massive blowout over the prenup, and Brandon is going to somehow be the one who drafts the paperwork just to pour gasoline on the fire.
Oh, I would pay to watch that happen.
Same. Babes, that is all the snark we have for today. We want to thank the Snark Squad once again for supporting us during our break and for welcoming us back with such open arms.
We truly appreciate you all, and we want to hear from you. Head over to our socials and let us know what is one everyday convenience that you don't think you'd ever want to live without.
Thank you all so much for listening. Please remember to subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share the podcast with another messy babe in your life.
We love seeing the community grow.
Stay grateful, stay curious, and we'll see you on the snark side.